Hello, everybody. Welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff. And as always, I also publish on Rumble, on the blogger site, and on Patreon for extra support. And any kind of news update, usually I go about on Twitter X platform. And just a quick update, as I mentioned, or have been mentioning, one episode per day for Midnight Sun, so Monday through Friday. And when I get time, I will eventually go about doing some live streams when I get around and have less work to do. But yeah, other than that, everything is on par with my predictions. Yeah, basically that's it. Let's go to the news. Um, we got Black Myth Wukong PC benchmark tool. It came out yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, and the game will come out in the 20th, so around 5 to 6 days. And yeah, I did tweak a little bit on this benchmark tool, and yeah, the game is a little bit heavy, but again, we've been seeing a lot of trends with that regarding uh, Unreal Engine 5 games, which is the case here. Again, just a quick recap on the PC requirements here. Again, I'm not taking the full ray tracing requirements here. Again, all of these recommendations always take an account of the fact that I think it's the upscaling technology are on quality mode, if not mistaken. So with that said, again, the CPU is not a big issue here because it's very demanding on the GPU side there. And again, for 4K, very high, I will assume. I'm not sure that if this is aiming for 60 FPS. I don't think so exactly. But again, it's supposedly a 4070 or RX 7800 XT in terms of Ultra 4K. I did some testing. Again, it's basically impossible to get around and have a good benchmark result, especially 4K very high. I think I went around 40ish something. I put everything except for upscaler, so native 4K, put very high. I tested with several different settings there just to try out, and even messed up a little bit with the upscaling, even though I didn't record any of those benchmarks. But my overall idea is, given that I have a 7900 XTX, again, I didn't. Everything is on stock in terms of speed, so no. I didn't do any kind of profiling on my GPU. But yeah, it's a little bit heavy on the demanding side of things. And even WCCF Tech here, they basically put out their some benchmarks there. Again, even though they are going for ray tracing stuff there, which again, I don't understand. People, the main line is usually people will not use that much of ray tracing stuff there, mainly because of, again, the majority of GPUs are not even proper for that. Even NVIDIA GPUs, maybe 4070 Ti Super and above might be kind of optimal, let's say, for ray tracing. But yeah, even here they did only use NVIDIA GPUs, which is quite odd. I think at least the 7900 XTX and the 7900 XT should be used here as a comparison, so people have an idea. But I think they wanted to, I will assume, focus on ray tracing results here because it's the only thing that they used on here. Again, I think it's a little bit misleading, these numbers here, because again, I don't think people will use very much ray tracing, even though I believe it will improve a little bit the quality of the visuals there, given at least the video of the benchmark there, what kind of scenarios it goes about. I'm assuming it improves a little bit there. I didn't test with ray tracing, but I did test it with TSR, which is one of the settings that they have there. Again, in terms of tweaks, seems pretty good. In overall, again, this is the benchmark tool, and I will assume the final version of the game and the fact that when I'm not sure if the new drivers for the GPUs have already this came in account. I don't think so. I think it might have a little bit an uplift in terms of performance when everything comes out, hopefully. Um, but I don't think it's going to be very noticeable there. One of the things that have in terms of super resolution, and by default they already have like the TSR by 50%, I think, with everything on cinematic, and then depends on the GPU, but I don't think it comes by default with the ray tracing level there. I think it comes off, and I think it comes also with frame generation on by default. Again, I'm not sure how lack of optimization that the game might be, but at least got some interesting results. For me to achieve around 60 frames per second, I usually take things to high level. Again, I'm taking into account it's native 4K, ray tracing off, frame generation off. I think I can reach between tweaking between high and medium levels. You will not notice a lot of difference. It's a granular difference between high, very high cinematic. It's granular as you move along the details there. But yeah, interesting things that they do by default. By the fact, again, TSR, it's in-game engine super upscaler technology that they have, because then you have FSR and then you got DLSS and XESS. It supports all of them. I used TSR because usually FSR, in terms of details and certain aspects of when it comes to upscaling, it's the worst of them all so far. That's why I use the in-game engine upscaler tool there. Um, you notice some stuff, especially when you go 50 and below. When you go from at least when you go below in terms of details, medium and below, you start noticing a huge degradation in terms of quality of the effects there. But medium, high, very high, and cinematic, between all of them, it's very nitpicky. You have to look for the details, but of course, you will see some noticeable difference if you're going, for example, high to cinematic, which is like maxed out. But yeah, even then with the RTX 4090, again, DLSS quality around with 75% on upscaling thing there, plus frame generation on, you get around 74%, 74 frames, which with everything reduced, frame generation will get you around 40-ish. Kind of a thing there, but then again, at least you got in terms of what you can do. And I will leave also, I completely forgot, I watched recently Daniel Oman. He goes about doing some testing in terms of benchmark with a 1060, which is the bare minimum acceptable GPU to run this game. I think I missed this one out. Yeah, 1060 or an RX 5080. You can get some playable frame rates around 60, but you have to do a lot of tweaking. It goes about a little bit there, and how the GPU itself performs, and how it can be in terms of how it in terms of scaling, in terms of what kind of performance can you get out by reducing certain tweaks in terms of quality there. Yeah, the game itself, I'm not sure how well more optimized can it be, given that it's a Unreal Engine 5, which is already an heavy engine by itself, and the fact that this game is very detailed in terms of how it tries to portray things. I'm not sure in terms of how more fine-tuned can it be internally, but at least the options that it gives you, you can see that there is some scaling between reducing some details and how it performs. So there is a scalability there, so you can tweak around, you don't lose a lot. There is no huge noticeable differences between each and every level in terms of graphic settings that you can set up there. And the graphic settings by themselves are already decent enough to work around with things. But of course, you will notice on when you start getting high, medium, and below, you'll start noticing a huge discrepancy in terms of quality, of course. But still, the low one, I think even the low settings, I think they are decent enough to be playable in terms of visual detail. But yeah, at least it's something that people can test out, and of course, this is a free benchmark tool, and at least you have an idea if your current system can handle uh, this game, and at least doesn't serve as a demo, but at least you are aware of not if your system at this moment in time can handle, and how we can handle if it at least it corresponds to at least the minimum PC requirements there. I think it's a pretty good tool, and I think to a certain degree should be common before game launches to have, or at least when the game launches, to have like a benchmark tool. I think it will be useful, and a demo. And if in the demo you can include the benchmark tool, I think it will be even better. I think it's something that it's one of those things that I think Steam is trying to incentivize developers to bring to the platform itself, so people can have an idea and play a little bit of the game to have a sense what the game is all about, and if they can include the benchmark tool, so people can see how well can the settings can be tuned out for their own system, and how that can be in terms, it demonstrates some kind of care and for the consumer itself. So I think it's one thing that I really advise developers to bring this when they want to launch a game. But yeah, interesting stuff there. I will leave the link on Daniel Owen. He goes about in huge detail on that, so you can have an idea what the this benchmark tool and what it means for your system in terms of playing the game there. In other news, we got I covered this, the first Berserker Khazan. It's kind of a Dark Souls like game, and I made an announcement. It's a 15 minutes gameplay that I did, and basically, Faxter Life here did a pretty good breakdown of what we might expect from the game itself. Some stuff I watched the 15 minutes, but there was some stuff that I didn't really realize that they were trying to do there. But yeah, a very good breakdown. Got the article here, but if you just want to watch the video, they did a pretty good breakdown there. And I really do recommend to check out their site. They have from guides and wikis and all of that jazz, and especially on Elden Ring and the such. They have builds. They have a huge list of builds there for new game plus, and all that jazz. They already taking in account now with the DLC stuff. It's been pretty good. In the other news, again, the things with Assassin's Creed, it just to a certain degree, it just keeps getting worse. They got an interview here. I saw some articles, which basically the source was this article itself here. So I prefer to go for the source here. This is an interview, kind of an interview or some statements here, because there is no questions or anything like that regarding lead producer Carl Onye. Um, it tries to give some insights here. Again, to a certain degree, some of them are trying to explain the logic behind how they went about the game. But again, they butchered a lot of stuff here. And even this guy tried to justify or excuse specific things. I will get to it. Basically, start off, it's great to work on a game that comes after something with the pedigree of Valhalla, which by itself, this statement is very revelatory. Seemingly, Valhalla is not a bad game, but it's overflown with wasted mechanics and wasted activities there. Even though the map itself seems pretty huge. Uh, Story-wise, I don't know if it's good or not. Since Black Flag, I stopped playing games from Assassin's Creed, so that's that. But yeah, the one of the things they try to express here is the fact that they took 4 years in development, which is 1 year plus, so 25% more than the usual cycle of Assassin's Creed games, which is been usually around 3 years in terms of development cycle. And the fact that they took 1 year more seems, at least from this guy, the sweet spot here. But yeah, as always, in terms of gaming, it's always a balance between time and cost. But the more time you have, the more you can iterate. Yes, you can put more people on the project and do it in a shorter time, but that doesn't give you more time to iterate, because it takes time to get the feedback from your producer team and then see what works and what doesn't, and how to improve it. 4 years, I think it's the right balance to go from conception to production and get the feedback necessary to that. Again, this goes in line to a certain degree with something that I yesterday or 2 days ago regarding Glenn Schofield and the fact that he asked a few more months for the Callisto Protocol game there, and I think this takes goes in conjunction with this. I really do agree with this kind of thing, with this philosophy here. Again, you can put more persons on the project, but certain things like time to get feedback and to introduce and reflect about that feedback and introduce it back again in the game, it always takes time. It's not by the fact that you have more people that that time will be shortened or something like that. Yeah, more people might help you to accelerate certain things in the aspect of production. At least that's my conception of things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the game the quality of the game will increase by the fact that you have more people in the project. Sometimes can be detrimented, because the more people you have to adapt the 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 development team to the fact that we have more people to go around and manage, and sometimes that can be a huge determined sorry can be a huge down in terms of the quality, overall quality of the game there. um, the fact here is that they continue here. This is from the journalist here. Assassin's Creed is one of the industry's leading franchises. Again, in terms of money, most likely. So it's not an IP that Ubisoft will cut corners on. Again, this can be very well debated. And he continues, one aspect of the series that is widely admired is committed to historical accuracy. Again, no, it is not. And that is something that you can that also can't be rushed. Again, one of the things that people misconception that they have, even though they put here between brackets within the confines of a fictional story, again, the historical accuracy is not one of the tenets of Assassin's Creed. At least I always interpreted they usually try to take in some historical moments, and usually even the main character is was never a character that was faithful. It was always a fictional character, and they try to weave that fictional character and the story they want to tell between some certain events, and even those events that can be recognizable from storybooks or from story lessons that we learn in school. They try to massage those events to bend to the wheel of the story and the character and the fictional story and the fictional character they are trying to get around there. So they take some this thing happened, but then they bend it to the wheel of the story they want to tell, and to the fictional character they want to tell also. So it's not about historical accuracy per se. They take certain events and then they massage those events to fit the story, the narrative, and the characters. So again, this is trying to excuse the rest of the conversation here, which is by itself. Again, that's why it's one of the reasons that people can see through this if you start reading things, and that's why people are getting a little bit sick of this supposedly gaming journalist industry, because they try always to excuse the these publishers and developers teams that when they don't do a good job, it's because of gamers. But continuing, this lead producer continues, we are trying to create a game that is authentic as possible. It's something to be take pride in. And that is also a very long process. When we build a Japanese house from feudal Japan, it is very different from, say, a French medieval house or an English one. No shit, Sherlock. Um, Again, this is the thing when it tries to excuse thing, trying to make it seems that they always took the time and care to see how things were done at that time and place. In this case, Japanese medieval medieval Japanese time period, let's say. And then they continue. So you have to learn as artists where things go inside the feudal Japanese house. Maybe the food doesn't go there, so you have to get everything you need to know and learn it. And that process is long. Again, excuses to a certain degree, even though I might agree with the process itself. But again, it does that. That doesn't mean that they went about doing things properly. And continuing here, this is, I think, the journalist here. The research project for Assassin's Creed is well owned by now. It begins with internal research, okay, before working with external consultants and historians. Again, the problem here in this case is the external consultants that they use. Their self-proclaimed expertise are very well documented of at, at minimum being dodgy, but yeah. In the case of Shadows, the team also involved teams in Osaka and Tokyo. Then, once that research had been completed, the team hopped on a plane to visit locations where the game will take place. Now, uh, the lead producer continues, is very interesting because when the team went there, one of the things that jumped out was the forests and how they were made. Again, and you will see that we made some forests based on Greek landscape. Again, they already doing shit before the so the internal research they didn't work because if they took the internal research and because they took that in account, they're starting to do some forest based off Greek landscape. So they didn't worry enough to see, okay, well, let's see the environment, usually how the flora and the fauna is around, as we can see as current Japan, and maybe we can explore afterwards, tweak around, and maybe seek if it was the same thing in future Japan. No, they take it from Greece landscape, which has nothing. One is Mediterranean landscape, let's say, usually Greece, very mountainous, very rough edged around the corners there. Even the vegetation is completely different uh, compared to Japan, which it doesn't have anything to do with anything. But then we went to Japan, noticed it was very different for what we've done, and we had to change it. You don't necessarily find that stuff out when doing historical research. Again, that's why the philosophy there seems okay. So eternal research, okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, does it match up? Let's cross-reference this with anything that they have. But they start doing shit after internal research, and then they, I don't know, before working external consultants and historians, and then they do the trips, and then they have to correct what they already done wrong again. This seems they didn't took the time and care to do things properly, because when you start doing, it's better to start off from scratch and do all the preparation necessary to do things than to do things and then try to correct them, because you're already starting with a foundation that is not the best one. Uh, that's why I think that a lot of architecture is completely botched. The seasons are completely screwed up, and what supposedly should match with which. Um, but yeah, in continuing here, there are some. These are sorry. These are some of the small things that are very important because you get a better sense of the dimension of the building, of the culture, of monuments and shrines that are still standing today. It is important to represent all that correctly. Again, supposedly you took the time to even check for small things like shrines and all of these little things here, but they completely butchered everything, mixing Chinese architecture influences in Japanese architecture, which it's not it's not what happened, because China never invaded Japan to influence architecture in that way. What happened is Japan tried to invaded China throughout their history between each other. They really invaded. The only thing that happened was in the time of the Mongols, which is not China proper. They invaded the Tsushima Island, which is a reference made here. They took inspiration of Ghost of Tsushima. It's one of the big ones, which is also an historical action adventure game set in Japan and developed in the West. They try to compare themselves to this, which is, I don't know why the journalists made this comparison, because I read the Wikipedia some time ago to try and see what kind of inspiration they draw from, especially historical accuracy. And basically, the only historical moment that they have is the invasion of of the Mongols in the 13th century, I think. The invasion on the island of Tsushima. It's the only thing that it's set in that historical event. It's the only thing. The characters are completely made up. The only thing they also try to play in terms of the map, it's trying to figure out a way of representing the format of Tsushima Island to a certain aspect. It's not a recreation, but they try to honor that. And of course, they went about and really went to Japan a couple of times and really worked with local people there, specialists on the story of the island and all that jazz. They had to do some compromises here and there, but overall, they respected a lot with what they did there in terms of the culture. They even learned that it's very disrespectful in this kind of media to try to use real persons that were at the time. Usually, it's not the most respectful thing to go about things. To try and fictionalize something using real people. So that's why all the characters are fictional. There is nobody called what they have in terms of characters there. It's one of the things they learned in the case when they were doing Ghost of Tsushima, something that Ubisoft similarly didn't learn. Especially how they butchered the Yasuke character and what they did with them. And continue here with the lead producer. Since we are making a game in Japan, we do hope to appeal to more Japanese players. Yeah, you did manage not to do that. So it's very important that we try to be as authentic as possible. Again, you didn't do any of this. You didn't make any of this. I don't know. It's trying to say, oh, we did the best we can. We take everything in consideration. You didn't, but yeah. We come from a humble position. No, no, you're not coming from that position of we don't know anything and we need to learn everything from scratch. We're making sure we respect things because this is something very important to Japanese people, as it is many other countries. This is true, but you didn't give a shit about that. When you come in, you don't want to come in as you know, if you know everything. Again, you did that. We want to build something that they see and play it, they will recognize their own country. Again, you just put everything. The seasons doesn't match, the architecture doesn't match, the characters don't match to anything culturally relevant to Japanese people. Again, I don't know what you're trying to do here, just by call it shadows and saying that it's set in Japan. It's the only thing that you did that might be relatable to Japanese people, but who am I to say? I'm not Japanese, but the reaction that we've been seeing from them, it's more than telling. And again, during production, we do that. We do play tests with people from different places at different stages. We look at what works and what doesn't, and we also look at play tests with Mirage and see what people like. Again, I can take, given that they wanted to use how they call it. God damn it! I'm locked. Stealth. The stealth mechanics. They wanted to use the same kind of stealth mechanics that they did in Mirage, but basically my take is they basically just copy pasted to a certain degree. At least that's my perception. We knew we were going into the direction of stealth with shadows, and so we saw what they were doing and learned from that. We said let's use what they've done and build on top of it rather than doing our own way. Again, from my understand, Mirage takes place in Baghdad, which is a city, which is a very specific setting. And I think what you try to do there with the Mirage again depends on what kind of specific parts they are talking about here. Given that Assassin's Creed Shadow is a more open world kind of a thing there, so I don't know what they're trying to say here, rather than doing going our own way. Again, this doesn't match. Why you can say that we said let's use what we've done and build on top of it by going our own way. but you said you're just basically saying you just copy pasted the things. You might made some changes here and there, but again, it's the mentality that we've been seeing, the Ubisoft philosophy there, that we see the stagnation of trying to make things their own way when they develop a game. You saw from Far Cry 3 the stagnation that went from the rest of the franchise. It's always the copy paste. Same with Assassin's Creed. You see in those two franchises the stagnation in terms of mechanics and how they go about things is always the same thing to a certain extent. That's why, because they are just building upon on top of what came before without trying to make it their own, and that lends itself to people just getting tired of this kind of games, and these franchises in specific, because they just went about it and just copy paste stuff, specifically mechanics and game loops. It's always the same thing here, and basically concluded we are all part of the brand, so it is important that we all discuss with each other. You want to avoid redoing work again, depending on what they're trying to do here. And it continues, we have a lot of discussions with other teams to make sure if you're doing similar things, we can collaborate. And so if they want to do something afterwards, we can take that in account. Okay, that doesn't mean that you just can't do shitty stuff. And it basically wraps up by saying that's what we do with our new Anvil pipeline, which is a tech teams working together. When we build new features, we make sure those features are available for all projects. Again, I think this is a good philosophy here. We are continuing to build and improve it and improve all the time. Okay, this last one, it's more than okay. Again, if you have an in-house game engine, and if there is a team developing a game and they can figure out a way of doing things better, or trying to come up with something new, of course it's going to be passed on all the teams that have projects or they are pre-production, where they can use the same kind of techniques that you use. But then again, as long as you don't as long as then you don't just use what they've done and build on top of it. In a sense, you just change the skin of the character and the environment uh, where that kind of feature comes into play. um, you have to make it on your own, or else it's going to be bland and seem exactly the same thing that you already done in other projects. So again, this shows you even the kind of a little bit of the mentality that happened on the background, because this is a lead producer, so he is one of those guys that is trying, let's say, oversee the project itself, how things are, how the pieces are being set together, what kind of direction people should take. I will assume also, given even though it's not mentioned here, because I assume they want to avoid touching this kind of a thing, the kind of external feedback that they got, for example, from external consultancy firms. Got the professor, the supposed professor James Lockley, or the Lockley guy, and the other supposedly historian woman that basically her work is based upon boy lovers in the medieval Japanese thing there. Again, a lot of shit show there, and of course the philosophy of their going woke. Even the CEO Yves Guillemot told that they are the most woke company and they will charge forward in the upcoming years to double down on that. So we got a lot of distortion, and the fact that the mentality of the fact that again, I'm not sure if it is something French culture, because people tend to forget British, to a certain extent, Spanish, Portuguese, and French cultures were, and the countries themselves in this medieval time, they were very colonialist in terms of the ideas and what they think is right or wrong. I'm not sure if, to a certain degree, they saw what they like from an oriental aspect of things, and then they impose their views on a specific time period of a specific country. Again, like Japan, when you don't even put the seasons rights, and you put emphasis on the seasonal changes of the game, and you don't even put that right when you try to claim that you're going for the most respectful portrait of Japanese culture of the time, and you just infuse Chinese architectural influences there without the need to. Even the internal architecture of the buildings are completely messed up because they don't correspond with the philosophy of how things were built at the time, even in the interior part of the houses, which is completely, I don't know, mind-boggling. When you trying to say that you portray with a commitment to historical accuracy, and you just pick the most obscure person that there is confirmed to be existed, which in this case is Yasuke, and you try to overblown and over represent, let's say, not over represent because there was only one person, and there is. I don't want to ramble too much, but even the fact that you pick the most obscure character, which is not a Japanese guy, it's an African man from Mozambique, which is a Portuguese colony for a long time, as the main character. Again, when the game happens in the time that the Japanese were a closed country for the outside world, only a handful of people managed to break that, and the Jesuit priest was one of the few at the time. It was Portuguese Jesuit priests that managed to, let's say, break that blockade of outside influence. Again, a lot of stuff going wrong here. They even studied the proper history to go about this, and they butchered this game. This game is going to be a shit show from all that I've been seeing. Not even try to be respectful in any kind of way or manner. Again, they should have gone with a fictional character instead of, even with all the mistakes. People can forgive some of the mistakes and kind to understand the, again, if you're not marketing your game as a accurate historical uh, part of a culture, and you, if you go about and use even the historical events have you been using, which is the revolution of the Sengoku era, the trying of reunification of Japan at the time. You can use Nobunaga as a reference point for people who have a reference point of what time period and what was happening at the time, and then you make everybody fictional there. I think people would have given a pass to that, but again, you want to try and go woke, you're going to get broke. And lastly, my latest news here is just an update here with the CD Projekt Red. Again, I covered the fact that I'm a little bit worried with CD Projekt Red and their the way they're going about it, specifically the sequel stuff. So the Witcher trilogy, the Witcher remake, and the sequel to Cyberpunk. Again, just a reminder: Mary Kenney, which was a former associative narrative director at Insomniac Games, working on Marvel Wolverine, and even this game is getting a lot of shit because from everything that we've been seeing so far, even though it's leaks and rumors, especially from the hacking they did on Insomniac Games a few weeks ago or a few months now, this doesn't seem to be in good hands. Marvel's Wolverine, and she was narrative director there. She recently joined, again, I covered this, CD Projekt Red, hitting that she's working on the company's follow-up of Cyberpunk. Again, this is the first post that she did at the time. Without further ado, it's time to announce my new job. Today was my first day as a senior writer at CD Projekt. And then she goes about in saying that it's best known for The Witcher series Cyberpunk 2077. Again, I think it's news for her. I don't think she knew that CD Projekt Red was best known for this. That's why she had to inform everybody that already knew about this. And then she added, I can't wait to talk more about my project. I'm thrilled to getting back to RPGs, and my team is talented, welcoming, and just flat out cool. Here's to a new adventure. Okay, got in that case, trying to do narrative design and narrative work on the sequel of Cyberpunk. And then she did recently in a follow-up post regarding everything. I will read here. I put it on purple just because she's a nutcase. This is from LinkedIn, I think. My inbox remains filled with people asking for the spicy tea on my recent job change. What is this spicy tea? Again, not job here, but whatever. So this post is to assure all everyone there is in fact no tea, just a plate of vanilla wafers with pastel frosting. Again, what the fuck are you trying to say here? What kind of comparisons that you're trying to do? Nobody understands this reference. And okay, the points. Imsoniac and I didn't part on bad terms, even a little. Wasn't fired. I adore my further fellow directors, Marvel's Wolverine, and I don't intend to let any of them fall out of touch with me. A lot of my work is still in that thing. I'm rooting for that game and all of Imsom's future. Again, the way these people that are narrative directors or have a high position in narrative design, they write worse than me. And I'm not even an English speaking guy. I'm not like a guy that writes for a living that much, uh, but I can really do a better job of at least doing concise paragraphs. Again, I'm baffled with this. That's why the quality of writing of our games recently is a shit show. And then, second point, deciding to leave Insomniac was really hard. I had a great fast-paced 5 years there with wonderful people I adore. But when I met the team and heard the details of Project Orion, I couldn't stay away. It's a dream project for me as a writer gamer. Okay. No tea, all cookies, just this segment, great people and cool projects. Again, what is the tea and the cookies reference here? I don't understand. If somebody can explain that to me, I will appreciate that. But yeah, we already know Orion is a sequel to Cyberpunk. Again, just a reminder how nutcase this person is. She again pushing the acronym mafia agenda here. She disclosed a GLAD report bemoaning the lack of acronym people characters in video games with DualShock. This was in May. She said the GLAD report tells us something key games are a way for acronym people to socialize, but it also tells us something heartbreaking that acronym gamers don't feel that the developers are thinking of them when they design their games. She added there are also so many acronym developers, and we want what players want to design experience that tell the player we're here, we're important, and we belong. We need to pull. This is the famous quote she has. We need to pull every lever we have: characters, community support, mechanics to make it so. Again, the best stories told in humanity are the ones that go about human experience. It's not about if they were black, if they were white, if they would like to take in the behind, if they like to identify as a frog, as a rock. It was not. It was never about that. It's the human struggle that can be identified with anybody. It's not about sexual kinks. It's not about sexual preferences. It's not about the nut job of identifying as something else, rather than a human being, or how you or any I think a mental disorder that is specific to you. It's about human experience and the struggles beneath that. That doesn't mean that those stories, if you cannot if you cannot identify with those kind of struggles, with the best story told there, and if you worse you cannot take the experience of that character and apply it to your own, or have a connection there, that that does mean that it's you that is the problem. It's not the story itself, because the great stories ever told, uh, that's why you have the hero's journey. Hero's journey serve for a purpose, because anybody can identify as a hero when they have a struggle and overcome that struggle, and they take the experience and the lessons throughout that battle, overcoming that struggle, and bring it home and improve yourself with it. And if you cannot even take something that simple and that relatable as a hero journey, and you think that the hero journey is just killing bad guys, you're not seeing the whole picture there. And that's the problem with these people. They take basically everything literally. That's why the a lot of the games that come out, the writing is horrendous. Um, Usually it's with a lot of sexual innuendos most of the time, and they don't have nuance on discussing certain topics there because they don't have any experience to draw from, because they think the world revolves around themselves as a person. Uh, but yeah, this is my ramble for today. Let's go for some good stuff here. We got some free games. Again, I got this Signy, All Guns Blazing. I saw a review for this game. It's got a 7 out of 10. So it's like an arcade game shooter kind of a thing there. I think it's serviceable, and it's for free on Epic Game Store. So until the 15th, so one day more. And then we got Death Scamming Afterlife. I think it's a decent one. I have to check the reviews for this one, but the sense that I have, this is not a bad game here. But I will let you know tomorrow or when it comes to for the free game stuff here. In terms of Steam, we got Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, 20% off. It was launched in May. It's already on discount there. Not been selling well, as we all know. We got Vampire Survivors still strong here. This one, it's the version that I think it's the best one. 26% off. We got Dredge, 35% off. I might be going for this one and start trying out Vampire Surviving, doing some recordings here and there to go about. I don't know. I really want to check this game out. I'm very curious. We got Cyberpunk here. The Ultimate Edition is the way to go, mainly because of the Phantom Liberty DLC, and it's 43% off, which is good. We got Chegan Alliance, 50% off on the base game. We got Ghostwire Tokyo, 75% off. Again, the recently covered Tango Gameworks was acquired per se from Krafton, a PUBG publisher. I still need more details there to follow up on that one. Then we got also Bioshock. This is the Bioshock trilogy and the remastered versions of the first two games, plus Bioshock Infinite and all the DLC associated with all of that. 80% off. We got the Witcher Wild Hunt, so Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Again, what I do recommend, it's complete edition. It's the edition that will be more comfortable in dealing with mods, because most of the mods will need the DLC there, and it's 75% off. Again, it's an excellent game here. No compromises there on the quality. And lastly, we got Prey. Again, got stamp of approval from my part. If you're not sure if this game is for you, can check out my gameplay series on this game. I think on the first episode you will get a sense what this game is all about and how good it is. And it's 80% off, so I do really recommend when it's on sale here. And yeah, basically this is it for today. We'll just wrap up with my Patreon as usual. Again, the Patreon and the support coming from it is for me to try and get a better storage solution at this moment in time for having backups of stuff that I do for my clients, and of course some extra space for the videos that I do for the channel. And with all that said, hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. So until then, let me master out.